The next thing is, when you ask, your tonality should imply that you care. And do you struggle financially? You're living paycheck to paycheck? Okay, I give no fucks about you, man. But anyways, let me ask you a question. The reason for the call is because I'm smiling, I'm enthusiastic, right? It says bottled enthusiasm, and I'm doing this as a secret. The reason for the call, when you transition, you say, now real quick, let me ask you this, like you're speaking fast, you're not saying, now real quick, like a drunk ass person. So you could throw a shit test on you and they say, do you like to travel besides calling people, for example? The person is trying to shame you, guilt you, and if you don't address that, you will accept it. In other words, I swear to God, listen, you will speak French. Instead of saying that, you can actually embed that in your question. Many rookie salespeople don't pause, they just jump in. Oh yeah, yeah. Just to like listen. They tell you, I need to think about it. They're not going to think about it like drinking coffee and just putting a timer of 30 minutes and thinking about your product. No one is going to do that. And so this is like, it's not that the salespeople are sleazy. It's the people who are bad that are into sales that are sleazy, right? You're not gonna say like, because you're one of the last of the group that still haven't signed yet. So you say, one of the last of the group. Never say this. Never. If people feel that you are reading from a script, you lost the sale. They'll be, what an asshole, trying to sell me. It's not. And so you feature pace yourself, and this is the best way to sell yourself. I've seen many salespeople waste an hour of their time when the prospect was not even, didn't even have the money, right? Because how can you help them if you don't know what their goal or pain is? If it's like, if you are selling to a woman, you can stand face to face. If you're selling to a guy, you kind of have to stand 45-degree angle. He says, is it a bad time to talk? People say, no, it's fine, right? You can call upon your anchor and magically you will be so enthusiastic, so happy that people will feel that and you make the sale happen. And I take Jordan Belfort's words religiously. You need to read it 100 times so that it feels natural and readjust it to your style. Now this is when they start to sell themselves. So this is another way of saying, what do you do? This is actually from Vanessa Edwards. That's not your business. What do you mean how much I made, right? If you, let's say, walk in a street and you need to approach a stranger and you feel down, you don't want to do it, you call upon your anchor, you feel flush of energy, and you just do it. You can't lose, right? And so this is not spoken, but this is why you get a feeling that there's something wrong, but you can't quite tangibly define it. And I'm not teaching you to manipulate here. I'm teaching you to be aware of that, to protect yourself from it. Well, authority figure. The doctors say that applying this marker to my face is going to make my skin better. The only problem you will have is I didn't call you 6 months ago and get you started then. Okay guys, so today I'm going to share with you one of the best ways to persuade and turn a prospect into a client. Whether you are a salesperson or you talk to your neighbor, it just improves your communicational skills. These things, the notes or the thing that you see here, are coming from the notes that I took extensively from Jordan Belfort's straight line system. So the first thing he tells you is, the first thing you have to know, guys, is you have to have a goal in mind. Whether you talk to a restaurant staff, a neighbor, whether someone pisses you off, you have to have a goal. Why are you speaking to them? And I know you may ask me, do we have always be intentional? I would say 80% of the time, yes. Not 100, but 80% of the time. So you have to have a goal. Why are you speaking to the person you speak, right? What's your objective? And the first thing to build rapport is to convey two things. The first thing is that you care about the person. You are warm, you are friendly, you genuinely care about the person, right? You don't come off as a fake salesy person or as a fake, sleazy salesperson or just a person, whatever. So you care, and it doesn't mean that you have to talk about their kids and their grandkids and their grandfather and the history of their country or where their kids go. It doesn't, to convey your love and care, you don't have to meander through their history. You can convey that through your tonality, through your manners, like subtle things. We'll get into that. And the second thing is that you are an expert. So when you have a goal and you speak to a person, you assume that they think, okay, so let's say you are calling a person, a prospect, to, let's say, offer them a course or to offer them a car. You probably have some information that this person wants to buy a car. And so they want to know that you are the expert at what you're selling. If you sell a car, you know everything about cars. You are the authority in this field. So two things, and you develop rapport. Next, you gather intelligence. And this means you qualify them. So you basically ask questions to know whether they can help you or not, whether they are the right fit or not. So you know that if the staff can't give you an extra coffee, you have to talk to the management. You ask for the manager. If your neighbor's dog is barking, you're not going to talk to the dog. You qualify. You know that it depends on the owner. So you qualify. If you sell to a prospect, they may not have the money. So you ask them questions, and you're not invading their space and say, "Do you have the cash?" You're not saying that, but you gather intelligence. We'll get into that, but you just qualify a person. Are they qualified to buy? Are they not? Can they help you or not? If they can't, who can, right? So you have to understand if they are qualified. And the third thing is controlling the sale. So when you call them, you're going from A to B. You have a straight line. A straight line basically means from the moment you say hi to your objective, which is a sale most of the time if you are a salesperson. If you're not a salesperson, then your objective in whatever you want, a deal, a discount, whatever it is. So a person is going to try and meander. So sometimes, or some people, I swear to God, they are so talkative and they have no life that if you let them, they will take at least 3 hours of your time, 4 hours. If you just say yes, even if you say nothing other than yes, they can speak for 3 hours. You don't want to do that. If you do that, you lost the sale. So the moment they try to digress or go on a tangent, you just bring them politely back to the sale. So let's say you're selling a car, and they say, "Hey man, I remember my grandfather had a really big car. It was very powerful. We drove, he used to like hunting, so we used to hunt deers and whatever. Did you hunt or do you hunt?" If you say, no, I don't hunt, but speaking of cars, you broke the rapport. And now the guy says, "What an asshole. He doesn't care about me." It's like you seem fake. So that's why you have to say stuff like, "No, I haven't really hunted, but I would love to. Mostly what I did is just playing games, and that's how I hunted. But I'm sure these guys have a great fun hunting in real life." And then you just go straight to the sales. This way you kept the rapport, and you just politely put them back into the sale. So everything you have to say and everything they have to say has to be about A and B. That's it. For example, if you are on a call or if you are with a neighbor, you don't want to, spend 30 minutes, an hour to do so. Your objective has to be straight, and you most of the time have to have a script. If not, just know what you're going to say. Right? You kind of have to prepare. whether it's negotiation, whether it's an interview, you kind of have to be prepared. You know what to expect, what objections they may ask, so you kind of have to predict all of that, or have a script. If a guy comes to buy a car and you go on a tangent, this guy may be a sales, like they are very respectful business people, right? So but they may not have 1 hour of time to talk about your kids or their kids, right? So you always have to be precise, to the point. The next thing that I have here is sell yourself first. Genuinely convinced about the product you're selling. Never sell anything you're not convinced that is good for people, right? And also, the second thing is, when you talk to people, they have to understand and trust you. Shed any negative beliefs. If you think salespeople are sleazy, he says it's a fallacious and erroneous thought. Salespeople, if integrous, like, listen, it's not about being, it's not that the salespeople are sleazy. It's the people who are bad that are into sales that are sleazy, right? If you are a genuinely integrous and honest salesperson, there's nothing wrong about being a salesperson. Why? Because you actually help people overcome themselves, right? They have negative beliefs. They have some stuff blocking them from improving their lives. And what you do here, using dark psychology, using persuasion, tonality, you actually help them get through their fallacious beliefs and their objections. If you're genuinely sure that the product is going to help them, and you're not there to make profit off people selling them garbage, then it's actually a bliss. It's not a bad thing. Embrace looking stupid. So as a salesperson, or just to be successful, right, you kind of have to be okay with rejection. Means, for example, if you email a lot of people, if you knock so many doors, if you approach women as a guy, right, if you are a girl, like if you try to apply to many jobs or whatever, so you have to embrace looking stupid. Embrace that. This is not bad, this is not wrong to be a successful, right? Because you have to have experience. You have to get this experience. Okay guys, so at the heart of selling is this concept of pain and pleasure. What does it mean? So before they buy, they run movies in their head. If they are convinced that buying this product or listening to you is going to cause them more pain, even the slightest, they will say no. If they understand that they will have more pleasure, that the scale of pleasure is going to outweigh the pain, they will say yes. Whether it's a sale, whether it's any other objective that you are speaking to people with, right? And so he says you have 4 seconds to establish that you are enthusiastic as hell. You are sharp as a tack. And you are a figure of authority. So you have 4 seconds to establish what? Rapport. To establish rapport. And this is by your enthusiasm. You're very enthusiastic. They can hear that through your voice. If you're speaking to them face to face, you're looking at them. You're sharp as a tack. Very sharp. You have a script and you know what you're talking about. Like you're not mumbling. You know what you say and you exactly. You're sharp as a tack. And you are a figure of authority, meaning that you are the expert. You know what you're talking about. You are the guy, you know, the man, the girl. You know what you're talking about. And so you convey these 3, you build instant rapport. And so this takes me to the next part, which is if in 15 to 20 seconds you have not built rapport, you have not conveyed that you are enthusiastic as hell, sharp as a tack, and authority figure, he says you are screwed. That's it. Forget about it. So 15 to 20 seconds cap. The next thing is he says tonality. So your tonality has to be, you have to really feel it and understand like your tonality. So the way you speak influences people's thoughts. If you, let's say, so because what matters, he says, is trust. If you call them and you're not enthusiastic and you're just like, hi, I'm calling you because you already know that this is a bad way, and you already think like, oh my God, get yourself a job, man. Fuck you, like, what the hell are you talking about, right? So, but if you are enthusiastic, hey, is this John? Hey, John, you applied to our English program. Have you found a teacher? Or have you found a teacher already? Or have you found a teacher yet? And he says, oh no, right? So you're gonna have to be sharp as a tack. Your emotional state tells them if you are a winner or a loser. Your emotional state, if you think that your tonality, your emotions can't be portrayed and conveyed through phone, you're mistaken. And I think you know that. If you smile, you can feel it. People can feel it. Even if you talk to people face to face. And by the way, guys, if you are introverts, don't worry. It all starts with mindset. If you follow my channel, I talk about mindset a lot. And this is basically to actually help introverts go out to this world and talk to people and kind of desensitize them. But this is another topic. But like I said, talking face to face, you gotta train. So, hey man, how are you feeling? Yes, you're gonna have to have the MCE vibe, you know. So, tonality, trust, your emotional state tells them you're. This brings me to the next point, which is you have to become the expert. You have to become the expert because this comes, he says, from your childhood where people obey authority, right? The police, the doctor. And so you have to genuinely know everything about the matter that you're selling. And you have to genuinely, you're going to have to sell yourself first. And so if you are an expert and you convey that, they can sense that. People can sense if you're full of shit or not. You have to decide how many calls you have to make, or if you have a negotiation, do your due diligence, prepare, and voila. But this is not it. This is just the beginning, guys. 9% of communication is words. Only 9%. 91% is tonality plus body language. What does it mean? So it means that whenever you speak to people, you have to use your hands because it helps you. If you're certain, what I do is I use this body language. So when I'm certain, look man, the result you're gonna get is look, this is like my body language. If I'm trying to tell them a secret or something special, I lower my voice. The reason for the call, and I'm doing this. So the reason for the call, see? Like, you kind of have to know and understand how you use your body. Some people can just stand in one place. Some people have to walk. You have to move your body because this is conveyed. Tonality and body language. When you walk into the room, people know who you are, right? You are a slacker, a loser, or a genuinely cool guy or a girl. So you have to also use transitions like well, but, now. These are powerful transitions. Well, but, now. You can have to write this down and remember it and add it in between the sentences. The next thing he talks about is the speed. You're not gonna say because you're one of the last of the group that still haven't signed yet. So you say, one of the last of the group, one of the last of the group, one of the last of the group, right? So you kind of have to make it fast. And I think this also goes in many aspects of life. Train yourself. You have to practice different tones. Try say that fast, slow, in a very aggressive way. One of the last of the group, or one of the last of the group. So you're gonna have to train. And this is the art of communication. Like when you just practice your script, you practice reading it in many different ways, and you test, right? So one of the last of the group. Sometimes you have to really batch words and read them very fast. And this conveys that you are sharp as a tack and enthusiastic and a professional. So, I mean, imagine listening to a guy speaking in a very slow manner. One of the last, because you are one of the last of the group. I mean, so this is very important. This takes me to the next one, which is, what's the difference, guys, between a goal and a vision? So he says, you have to be a visionary. If you have a vision, you're going to achieve your goals. Because it's a vision. How do you see yourself living in 5 to 10 years, right? The lifestyle. We don't talk about the means, we're talking about the vision, right? Who do you see yourself as? And so goals are the stepping stones to the vision, but they are not, but goals are not the end like the end thing. And one of the most stupid words that people use in English language and in any other language as well is the word should. We should. He was so pissed off and he was like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? We should. Instead, replace them with will and must. Don't say should and shouldn't and shoulds. He says this is the language of the poor. This is the language of the defeated. We should do this. Yeah, we should. We should. Yeah, we should, but who knows? So, will or must. So, should is eliminate. Remove this word from your dictionary. The next thing he says is, in order for you to close or to make a sale, you have to make sure you have these three things. They love your product, and they think that it's the best thing since sliced bread. Number two, they trust you. You're not some sleazy person who's just trying to get some money, right? You're honest and ethical, and you really believe that they are the right fit for your product. And number three, trust your company. They trust your company. It means that they may love your product and trust you, but they may not trust your company. You would say, how would they not? Well, maybe your company is, maybe you are a good guy, but your company is sleazy. Maybe your company doesn't donate or doesn't help people, whatever. They have to trust your company. Must threes, right? Must have threes. 3 must-haves. 1, 2, 3. If you portray these things in a call or by speaking to a person, they will 100% buy from you. These things. They love your product, they trust you, they love your company. We will use this in the future. Whenever they say, I need to think about it, I'm not sure, you're going to unpack each one of these. And this is called, I'm pacing myself forward, but it's called looping, right? So you convey that, you unpack these things. But we have to go through other stuff first before I tell you exactly how we unpack these things. But basically the logic is simple, right? So you kind of just explain to them the beauty of the program in all aspects. So this is why you have to have a script. They have to trust you when you say, I really pride myself in serving these types of people, or in helping entrepreneurs, or helping those types. You're basically conveying. You're not gonna say, I'm a really good person, believe me. But you take pride in being at this company, working here, and making a difference. And so they trust your company, yeah. So maybe, your company donates to Africa, or you kind of convey that it's a trustworthy company. This is why I say, you have to have a script. You have to have your thoughts together. Next thing, you have to create, there's been a big debate in sales about whether a sale happened because of a logical case or because of emotion. Some people say, oh, it's just an emotion. First, they buy emotionally and then they justify it. Some people say, no, it's logic and then it's emotion. Actually, Jordan says it's both. It's airtight logical case and airtight emotional case. If it's if you are selling to a woman, you can stand face to face. If you're selling to a guy, you kind of have to stand 45-degree angle. And so the last thing he says, you are not limited by your abilities, you are limited by your vision. So, vision. That's why they say dream big. So the number one thing that can get you ahead is the ability to manage your state. How do you feel right now is the most important thing. So we're going to learn how to manage our states, but this is important. If you can manage this, your state, you can feel good, and if you feel good, everything is amazing. As a matter of fact, it says here, the state of me at the moment dictates my success or failure. So it is your disempowering state that was the reason for your failure. Disempowering state. Think about it. And so then he says, you have to make 60-day goal. What are the things that you want to accomplish in 60 days? Try to think about it. So let's say the goals that you had for 2 years. For 2 years, try to condense it into 60 days. And I promise you guys, you will be very surprised when 60 days pass. Okay, next one. Qualifying questions. So the first thing that you have to do is that you have to start from big picture questions, general questions, and then narrow down into specifics. Transition. Based on everything you just told me, this is the perfect fit for you. And see, the tonality, guys, have to always be real, right? Some of you guys are just, I just hope that whenever you say these things, you are honest. Like, if you're just genuine, you don't need to learn to convey tonality or anything. But this is a boost. This is this is also very important. So, based on everything you just told me, this is the best or the perfect fit for you. And so he then says, the sale starts at no. So whenever they say no, this is the moment you know the sale has begun. This is not a moment when sale has stopped. Like, don't think about it. So it starts when they say no. People love to be in control. And this is also why, if you know the book that's called Never Split the Difference, a former FBI agent, he says, when he asks people questions, he starts with no. For example, he doesn't say, is it a good time to talk to you right now? He says, is it a bad time to talk? People say, no, it's fine, right? So you inverse or reverse. Is it a bad time to talk? Is it a ridiculous idea? Is that a ridiculous idea? Is it a bad time to talk? And so people love to be in control, and so they will say, no, it's fine, right? So this is what he does. But basically, this is a very, very, one of the best ways to ask a question. Okay, next thing, anticipate objections. If you have a script, that's wonderful. If you don't, think about the questions that they may ask or the objections that they come up with, right? We have AI, so you can train. You have to create an airtight logical case, meaning that you have to tell them how great your product is, but leave your powder dry. Withhold a lot of great stuff, so you can mention some of the good stuff, but not everything. You need to save some good stuff for later. Create an airtight emotional case, which is the 3 tenths. You need to crack through their limiting buying beliefs. And basically, going back, the 3 tenths are, they love your product. They love your product. Second thing, they trust you, that you really care and you really are, integrous, authentic, genuine person. And number 3, they trust your company. So on a scale to 10, it has to be 10, 10, 10, from 1 to 10. Asking the right questions. Okay, so remember, when you speak to them, you have to convey that you care and you are just like them. You are not better than them. You are not worse than them. You care about them and you are just like them. So, find out their why. Number 2, write down perfect questions and memorize them. Which is, of course, if you follow the script, you're good to go. But also you can have a separate sheet like, of questions, like maybe 15 to 20 questions. Ask for permission to ask for a question. What does it mean? So transition. You say, just a quick question so I don't waste your time. And your tonality has to be like, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, right? I'm here to help. Just a quick question so I don't waste your time, right? Just a couple of questions so I can serve you better. And guys, the implicit tonality that you have to have is that you care, you are trustworthy, and you have their best interest at heart. This is what you have to convey when you speak to them, right? So if at any moment they sense that you don't really care about them, you lost the sale. All right, and so this takes me, guys, to the second part. Let me move it a little bit. Okay, this takes me to the second part, which is find out about their experience with similar products, likes and dislikes. So some questions that could be, what did you like about your experience with this product, or what did you like about the company, the recent company that you worked with? Have you had this experience? What did you like, etc.? What would you change or improve with your current source? What's your biggest headache with? What's your ultimate objective? Because how can you help them if you don't know what their goal or pain is, right? You have to know these things. And so this is why it's prospecting. You kind of have to ask them to later use their likes and dislikes and their pain points to persuade. Of course, making sure that your product really can and is different. So following up, what would be your what would be your ideal program? Of all the factors, what's the most important thing to you? Let's say, yeah. Have I asked you about every detail that's important to you? Right, so you genuinely have to care. And you kind of have to know these things. Okay, and so the question here is to let them express their problems. As you qualify them in the beginning of the call, you ask them questions. You see why they need your product or service or help, right? Or even if you're not selling, what do they want to experience, right? What do they want out of this transaction or conversation? Let them feel their pain. Pause. Many rookie salespeople don't pause, they just jump in. Oh yeah, yeah. Just to like listen. You are identifying their emotional wants and physical needs. You truly care. It's not that you're trying to sell. I mean, I'm teaching you to be ethical. Or I'm teaching you to genuinely care. There's a whole page dedicated for this. In the beginning, listen more. So most people never get heard. So there is a need to be heard. The next thing is, when you ask, your tonality should imply that you care. And do you struggle financially? You're living paycheck to paycheck? Okay. I give no fucks about you, man. But anyways, let me ask you a question. It's not about that, right? So do you struggle financially? Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Like you genuinely care. Okay, qualifier number one. Okay, so you need to qualify if the product is the right fit for the prospect. As you listen, right, you understand if it's the right product. If you have different products that you can choose for the prospect. And if they can afford it. So you ask them questions about, you genuinely care, right? I shouldn't tell you what questions to ask. I can give you examples, but I'm not supposed to tell you, you do this and this and this. You should genuinely care, right? And when you feel the moment is that, like when you feel the right moment is there, insinuate a question into the conversation. Transition number one. If you believe that your product is the best fit for them, you say, based on everything you just told me, this is the perfect fit for you, okay? And then you go through the presentation. Let's assume that you have a script and you explain a thing or two about the product and you tell them, believe me, you will be very, very impressed. Sounds fair enough? You see, my tonality, sounds fair enough? Right? Sounds fair enough? Do you agree? And so, even when you say believe me, you're very certain, right? Believe me. And I do this, right? Believe me. You're going to be very, very impressed because I believe in the product that I sell and I believe that this is going to help you improve your life. Sounds fair enough? If they say no, and Belfort says, the moment they say no, the sale starts. And so if they say no, you run patterns, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with the book that's called Sleight of Mouth. There is one pattern, one of the patterns that we will use here is another outcome. Another outcome means you change the topic. And so let's say they tell you this, I need to think about it. Based on everything you just said, right? They tell you, I need to think about it. They're not going to think about it like drinking coffee and just putting a timer of 30 minutes and thinking about your product. No one is going to do that. And so this is humorously, I tell them, what will you think about? Do you really think you're going to buy biscuits and go to a coffee shop and sit down and think about it? I can't do that if I build rapport with some people, but this is not, you can't do that with everyone, right? And so you deflect it. You say, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this, or let me ask you a question. Do you like the idea? You loop. And then you basically, remember the three things, right? Belfort said, three things. Number one, they love the product. Number two, they trust you. And number three, they trust and love your company. I mean, not love, but they trust your company. So the transition after this, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you a question. Do you like the idea? And then you say, the beauty of the program, and then you go one more time, just briefly redefining or reminding them or showing another aspect of these three things, because it's just three things, right? And you can never guess. It's like a lock. 3 turns to the right, 1 to the left. And so basically, the sale is contingent on this. It's called the 3 tenths. They have to give everything a 10. 10, 10, 10. The reason they need to think about it is because maybe they love your product, but they don't trust you. Maybe here they have a 6. The company is maybe 4. And you kind of have to assume, right, as a human, I'm sure you can feel what do they want or what do they need. So you can ramp up the trust in one of these three things. So many salespeople say, money aside, never say this. Never. You do that with your tonality. This is next level thing. Like, you tell them this, let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? Like, generally, it automatically implies that money aside, do you like the idea? Like, do you like the idea? Does the idea make sense to you? Overall, generally, right? Not speaking of money. So you do that with your tonality. You never say, money aside. Of course money is not aside. I mean, of course, they're gonna pay you. So, I mean, this is what he says a rookie mistake is. And the next thing is, basically, so he calls it the art of looping. So this is A and this is B, right? And so, a perfect sell is when you say hi, they are very hot, they want to buy it, you say okay, 1, 2, 3, and the sale is happening. But it rarely happens. So what ends up happening is you need to loop. So for example, you start and you ask them a question, like you have given them a brief presentation, elaborated about the product, and they say no, let me think about it. So then you loop. You loop. By the ways that I showed you earlier, you tell them, I get it, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this, do you like the idea? And then you just try to sell them the idea of a product again. You give them a fact, give them a crazy fact, just move a little bit more or down the script, right? And then ask them a question, right? Does the idea make sense to you? If they say yes, then you try to move a little bit, and so he says when you loop, you end up being a little bit further than you started. So it's called looping. Usually he says it takes 3 loops to move forward. But all you do, like I said earlier, is just try to ramp up the 3/10. Hit them with a fact, with a statement, with some crazy fact, mind-boggling information, right? So they get sold by the idea. Okay, beautiful. Master the art of questions. So when you ask them a question to qualify, so they qualify themselves, right? So for example, before you start asking the question, you can say just a couple of questions before so I make sure I don't waste your time. So before you go deeper into the presentation, you gotta ask them a question, right? I've seen many salespeople waste an hour of their time when the prospect was not even, didn't even have the money, right? Or was just there to, see what the product is. And so you can ask them this, okay, just a couple of quick questions so I don't waste your time. Right? Not a big deal. The tonality is not a big deal. Just a couple of quick questions, and then you say, "How long have you been thinking? How long have you been thinking about whatever your product is?" Right? For example, I used to sell courses, and so I would say, "How long have you been thinking about studying English?" They would say, I would maybe say a year or two, or whatever. Now this is when they start to sell themselves. Now they they tell you a fact, they've been thinking about it for 2 years, right? So it's not just you calling them and trying to make them buy, they're telling you, I've been thinking about it for 2 years. Okay, they say, great. And are you looking to, like I said, according to a program, but you can say, what I used to ask them is, are you looking to study like half-time, like 3 times a week, or 6 times a week, like full intensive program? Like, are you willing to just, ramp up your English like in a month, or do you just want to do it casually, like on the side? So you ask them this, and they tell you, oh, I'm actually looking to boost my speaking, like my speaking as soon as possible, or I'm not in a rush, I have some time, so I was just looking to study with a teacher, take my time. The next thing is you ask them, what kind of work are you doing right now? Right? But not exactly as I read it. You just genuinely ask them, right? You build rapport and you say, okay, you can also ask them this, and how do you spend most of your time? Okay, and how do you spend most of your time? So this is another way of saying, what do you do? This is actually from Vanessa Edwards. Giving credits to her. This is to replace the small talk. And how do you spend most of your time? Or, and what kind of work are you doing right now? What kind of work, right? You're trying to understand in any way possible that they can afford your program, right? Or at least genuinely curious about getting a whole picture of the person you're dealing with. Every information is going to help you. And so, for example, if they tell me that they are a truck driver, I understand that my approach needs to be different, and the program is totally different for truck drivers because they're spending the whole day on the road rather than someone working in an office. So I need to understand that as well. So what job are you doing right now? Are you traveling? Are you what? So we tailor the program. And next you ask them, how is it going, and how is it going for you? Like, how do you currently do? How do you currently study English? Or how do you currently clean your house if they want to buy a vacuum cleaner? And how are you currently making money if you're selling money making machine? And so from A to B, whenever they try to take off or meander, like I said, some of them just love talking, and so you politely keep the rapport and you bring them back. Example, they tell you, oh yeah, I'm a truck driver, and man, I just love traveling. Do you travel? Have you traveled, or do you just work all day calling people? For example, they may ask you that, and so you tell them, yeah man, this is exactly why I'm calling people, so I get to travel, right? So you make it fun, you make it funny, but also it's not a good thing when they paint you as a caller, right? For example, some people may try to just it's called a shit test in dating, but they could throw a shit test on you and they say, do you like to travel besides calling people, for example? And so you might say, you can make fun of it and say, yeah, I mean, the reason I'm calling people is because I want to travel, right? I value freedom just as you do. So you're not the only one. But it's so funny that you thought I do call people as a full-time job. You were actually one of the last of the group, right? You have to be fast. You're actually one of the last of the group that did not sign up yet. And so I had to personally follow up with you, right? So you can make it scarce. Because if they devalue you by saying that you have no life other than calling people, that's not good, right? That seems desperate and needy. Now they try to paint it that way. Calling people is not desperate and is not needy. You're actually doing them a service, right? If you call some people, they say your prayers came true. Many people, when I call them, they say, oh my God, I've been thinking about studying English, or I've been thinking about this program, or I've really wanted that. Thank you for calling me. And I was like, you know, the universe heard you. You know, like your thoughts attracted me, so I gave you a call. It happens. Like, you don't randomly call people, right? Even if the randomness of your call, is there for a reason, right? Like, it happens for that. So you keep the rapport. You don't let them take you out of the sale. If you don't get them back respectfully, you can consider that the sale is lost, because you would wait for the perfect moment, and then once you try to do that, it just won't seem, the vibe is going to be different. So you have to keep the vibe the whole time from A to B. And so the next thing is, as you prospect them, you're asking them a question. So for example, there's something that's called future pacing. Future pacing is when you sound confident without promising them the outcome. You don't say, I swear to God, listen, you will speak French, or you will speak English, or you will make money. Instead of saying that, you can actually embed that in your question. So for example, you can say, so you're looking at this program as a way to supplement your current income or supplement your current speaking skill, for example. Could be anything. You're looking at this language courses as a way to supplement your current level of English, or is it something that you're transitioning full-time after you start speaking, after you start speaking fluently with it? Or is it something that you're transitioning into full-time after you start making money with it? So you're confident after you start making money with it. And the tonality is there like other people did. Like there is no question, there is no debate in that whether you will make money with it or not. It's just a regular, it's embedded in your question, right? This is a very beautiful thing, future pacing. And then you ask them a question, and here's the beauty, guys. When you ask them sensitive questions about their money, he says the tonality plays a big role in this whole thing. If you ask someone a question and say, just for suitability purposes, how much you say your current financial situation right now, or how much are you making right now? The person can say, that's not your business. What do you mean how much I make, right? But you can imply with your tonality, it's not a big deal, not a big deal tone, right? And so, just for suitability purposes, how much you say your current financial situation is right now, right? It's not a big deal, it's just for this. You have to train, but the tonality is, with your tonality, you can ask any question and not make it seem intrusive. And you're not doing that to intrude or to be rude, right? You're doing that for a reason. Every question here, you have limited time, and every question is there for a reason. And then here you have to be empathetic, right? When you say, for example, are you in good shape now? So are you in good shape right now? Or are you struggling? Or are you struggling, right? You are empathetic. Are you in good shape right now? Or are you struggling? Like, you really care. Are you struggling? I'm not trying to teach you to be ethical, because you're not. I hope that your authenticity and empathy and your values, your heart-led approach speaks for itself. But I'm just saying, like, every question has a tonality, and this is a next level game. This is not just read it. Yes, yes, yes. I'm an app. Yes, yes. You get it. And guys, I can't emphasize this enough. You have to be perceived as a friend. And if you are very enthusiastic, you can say, please don't misconstrue my enthusiasm for pressure, right? You can just let them know that. And so when you are transitioning through the script, sometimes you have to speak very fast. Sometimes you have to slow down, right? And so this is the art of this whole sales training is basically boosting yourself as a human. You become a communication master, like Vin Yang, the guy on YouTube, teaches you how to speak, how to narrate, how to communicate, what to say, what not to say. This is the art of sales. This is the art of sales. And regardless of whether you're going to become a salesperson or not, or just, this is priceless information, guys, just for you. And just like Grant Cardone said in his book, Sell or Be Sold, when you communicate, I mean, the gist of what I remember is you can get your way when you communicate clearly and when you learn to sell people your ideas. If you can sell your ideas, your agenda to people, they're going to buy it. Whether it's just believing your words or literally paying you money for that. And so when you make a script, you have to read it, and I'm not kidding. And I take Jordan Belfort's words religiously. You need to read it 100 times so that it feels natural and readjusted to your style. Now, the initial script may not fit your style of speaking, your language pattern. It may be different. So you need to read it and readjust it so that it feels natural to you but keeps the same essence. Okay? This is very important, guys. If people feel that you are reading from a script, you lost the sale. They'll be, what an asshole, trying to sell me. It's not good. And so also, I just want to point this out. When I used to call people, I would say, the reason I'm calling you, or the reason for the call, is because you're one of the last of the group, or you're one of the last in the list that didn't sign up yet, right? And so, yeah. And by the way, I've jotted the. So Belfort says, when you transition, you say, now, real quick, let me ask you this. Like you're speaking fast. You're not saying, now, real quick, like a drunk ass. One of the last of the group. One of the last of the group. One of the last of the group. And like even in pickup, and this may not be relevant, but even in pickup, right? When you speak to a girl on the street, and you introduce yourself or you speak on whatever, I learned through my trial and error that I could say stuff faster. Like if I explain that I'm I'm an entrepreneur, I sell stuff online, I could say stuff faster. Like, oh, I love your dog. I sell dog products on Amazon, and for example, I can practice. I sell dog products on Amazon, and actually people love it. Instead of, I sell dog products on Amazon, and I mean, depends on the situation, but if the thing you say is maybe long or boring, you could ramp it up with speed. One of the last of the group, right? So train, and this is why I said 100 times. It feels natural, you feel authentic, you feel friendly, you are not better than them, they feel that you are just like them. Okay, guys, we're coming to a very beautiful part of this whole thing. Boxing someone in is a very powerful technique. Before we get that, part of this whole chapter is important tonalities. You have to master these tonalities: scarcity, secret, certainty, and disarming. Disarming tonality. So as you are on a call, or Zoom call, or face-to-face, you have to know when to use each tonality. And I think you understand that. I've spoken about that. So scarcity, you have to identify your body, like what gestures do you make when you speak about scarcity? Like, listen, man, this program is just this program is going to end today, or today is the last day you can sign up. Like, today is the last day. You know, like the face and the hands, today is the last day, right? Or a secret. The reason for the call is because, you see, this is what I do. And I identified that. And when I try, and so I know the script very well, and so I'm saying like, the reason for the call is because I'm smiling, I'm enthusiastic, right? It says bottled enthusiasm, and I'm doing this as a secret. The reason for the call, you know, and the guy is, yes, tell me more, what? What's the reason, right? Certainty. I do this. Man, for example, when I speak to people, I say, and believe me, you're going to be very, very impressed. Believe me, man. Like, this is not this is not the only thing I say. But let's say, for example, look, man, the program entails lessons with 2 teachers. You're going to attend 6 classes a week. In a month, right? In a month, can you imagine? Like, you don't need to have brains for that. It's just repetition, just like boxing. You need to add a metaphor. It's just like boxers when they box, when they punch the bag so many times that even if you wake them up in the middle of the night, you're going to do it the right way, whether they're scared, whether they're, so you give them a metaphor. And so you're very confident. And then disarming tone. Now let me say this. You're giving them some solid facts, and then you say, let me ask you this. Does the idea make sense to you? Right? Does the idea make sense to you? Kind of in a disarm thing. Or, don't misconstrue my enthusiasm for pressure. Sir, don't misconstrue. Like, don't misconstrue. I'm helping. I'm not pressuring. I'm not, don't get me wrong. Or, you're transitioning, like disarming from sales into just a conversation. Does the idea make sense to you? I may be wrong in this one, but disarming this is what I do. Don't misconstrue my enthusiasm. Don't misconstrue my enthusiasm for pressure. Now let me say this. Do you get it? Do you like the idea? I'm disarming. Do you like the idea? Do you get it? This is what I do. The next part is going to be about anchoring. Guys, anchor is one of the most powerful topics that I came across. It is very powerful and it's very important. As a matter of fact, there's a whole story with me and anchors. Man, it's so beautiful. So anchors, basically, to introduce the concept of anchors. Do you ever have a moment where you listen to a song and you remember a moment from your past? You remember how you lived somewhere with someone, or you remember that relationship or whatever, like memories. Those are anchors. If people have allergies, 90% of allergies are made by anchors. So let's say if you want someone to have an allergy from chocolate, what you do is you drive them crazy, you give them chocolate, and as their body in this adrenaline peak survival state, they eat chocolate and then they do it, I mean, you do it 3 times, they associate it with what? With fear, with disease, with survival, with stress. And anytime they eat chocolate after that, they will get rash. They will get skin rash, they will have difficulty breathing. So it's an anchor. You can change that, of course, but I'm just saying, like, anchors are very powerful. You have anchors, you may not even realize. We all have anchors, right? Say, for example, a good example comes to mind is pickup, right? Some people use anchors on pickup, and I never recommend or advise anyone do that. But some people say, you know, or maybe if you're married, say, for example, when your spouse is aroused, you can, you know, touch them here 3 times or here 3 times or whatever. And so if you do that 3 times, and then if you do that again in the future, for example, they will get aroused as they were in the peak. So the secret to an anchor is anchors work when you are in a peak state. So let's say, for example, when you made a sale, or when you are very enthusiastic, you are swimming, you are happy, right? At the peak of your enthusiasm and happiness and excitement, you anchor the state. So what I did was the same as Belfort did. He just, made a fist and squeezed it downwards. So when you do that 3 times, your body remembers the state. And if you, let's say, walk in the street and you need to approach a stranger and you feel down, you don't want to do it, you call upon your anchor, you feel flush of energy, and you just do it. You can't lose, right? And so it's also important not to use your anchor every time, because you may dilute the anchor. And so what that would mean is you would dilute the anchor and it may not work the 7th or 10th time as it would the 4th or 5th time, right? Remember, the 3 first times you program your body to remember the state. You anchor yourself at the state of happiness or charm, whatever you want to anchor. And so let's say when you're on a call and you, for example, for some reason you feel down or you don't feel confident or enthusiastic, you can call upon your anchor and magically you will be so enthusiastic, so happy that people will feel that and you make the sale happen, right? So basically you transfer your energy to the person. So this is anchor. Next, he also advises, and basically it's just also advised to batch your anchors, so with auditory, kinesthetic, visual, to indulge your senses, right? So make it an auditory, not only that, kinesthetic as well. You touch it, maybe you scream, ah, right? Or maybe there is some music that you have. Visual anchor, right? You could imagine by the way, some people tell you to imagine a moment where you felt very powerful or very enthusiastic. You could do that. It also works. So you also kind of have to see stuff, right? A symbol. You could also have a symbol anchor. By the way, visual. It's very beautiful. Like sometimes the symbols that I may have in my room are just there to remind me of something, some anchor that I linked myself with, right? Whether it's freedom, whether it's whatever. And so smell. He says before he goes to a stage, sometimes he would just use a perfume or citrus, whatever, and so he would do it. You would think that it's a crack addict, but whatever, like you just do some citrus and you go. Tony Robbins and everyone has their own routine. And so anchors are very powerful, guys. And this is also one of the things that I've been looking to get an answer to. Like when I was looking, so sometimes I would walk in the street and I want to approach a person, but I feel nervous, I feel down, my emotions would get over me. And so I'll be like, shit man, how can I get over it, right? And so the anchor is the answer. So you do the anchor, you get flood of energy, and you just, like, it's a totally different version of you. You summon the demons, right? And so you approach the person, you speak to them, they feel that enthusiasm, and you'd be like, shit, had I not called upon the anchor, I wouldn't be able to, like, I wouldn't pull that off, right? You would maybe come say, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, or even in the call. Doesn't matter, it goes both ways. And so the next thing is, your script has to be 1 page, no more, right? 1 page. You have to paint a picture. We as humans, we think with pictures, right? This is how we think. What's gonna happen if I do this? So we see pictures in our heads. And so this is why it's important to use metaphors and comparisons. Metaphors, like I said. If you study for a month, you don't need lots of brains for that, right? It's repetition, just like boxers do. They train their nervous system to acquire the skill, right? Metaphor or comparison. You give 2 examples. A person that doesn't study or studies barely once a week, and a person that does it every single day. Like comparison, right? Whatever comparison that is relative to your script, you of course should use that. Link your services to a trustworthy figure. Let's say I have some wealthy students. And when I speak to my clients, I tell them, this guy and this guy and this girl and this woman, they study with me, for example, or they have, they take classes every single day and they swear by it. They like the results, and they link that with habits. So they told me that in order to succeed, you need to make it a habit. You give them an example. You say, yeah, a trustworthy figure. It may not be relative to your niche. You know, maybe you know some celebrity who, or that, you know, studies every day, and you say, look, Leonardo DiCaprio studies this every day, so you are no different. And our niche is different, but the same principle applies. Create urgency in the last paragraph. This is also very important. You create urgency because it's sale, because it's a season ending, or it's a discount that lasts for that last day or whatever. Like, don't lie, be ethical, but just make sure you figure a way out to make urgency, right? To create urgency. And remember, we as salespeople help people get over themselves, right? They have fallacious beliefs, they stop, right? So your process, like your duty is to help them get through that process, through this, you know, self-sabotaging thoughts, and go into soft close. And so after that, you would say, sounds fair enough? If the person says yeah, then you can begin ending the sale. But this is not all. We still have a lot to cover. So another thing, guys, that I want to talk to you about is presuppositions. This is very important and very, for your personal lives. Let's not talk about sales now. Presupposition is when someone tells you, for example, and you need to be careful about that, right? There's this beautiful book about protecting yourself and your psyche from manipulative people. If you loved me, you would not forget about my birthday, right? The presupposition behind this sentence is that you don't love me, you don't love me, you should be ashamed, you forgot because you don't care, you don't care enough, right? And etc. Many things. This is not spoken, but this is why you get a feeling that there's something wrong, but you can't quite tangibly define it. And I'm not teaching you to manipulate here. I'm teaching you to be aware of that, to protect yourself from it. And so you understand. If you love me, you would not, for example, forget about my birthday. This is the presupposition. And this is the moment where you need to address that, right? Wait a second. So you mean if I loved you, I wouldn't forget about your birthday, right? So you mean that if I got... So you need to you can't let this pass, because if you let this pass through, you will be guilty, at least in the interaction. The person is trying to shame you, guilt you, and if you don't address that, you will accept it, in other words. So you could say, well, you could address this situation in any way you see fit. You can do it in a positive way, controversial way. Yes, I hate you, and this is why I didn't care. You could do that, and the person will be like, really? Wait a second. So, whatever. So, your response should stem from your goal. What's your goal? Your goal is to amend the situation. Your goal is to call them on their bullshit, or your goal is to stop guilting you. What's your goal? Based on that, you tailor your communication. But the presupposition that I'm going to teach you here is a little bit different. The presupposition is with your tonality. So you tell them, once you start making money with it, right? Tonality. Tonality, right? This is just a sentence from a script, an excerpt, but you just speak to them and you say, Listen, man, once you start making money with it, or once you start making money with it, like, give me a break, right? Once you start making money with it, or once you start speaking English, man, I want you to make a review for me. I want you to give me or refer 5 clients. Once you start making, so your tonality tells them that, give me a break, right? It's obvious. Once you start getting the progress, you're going to be very impressed. I want you to get me, refer some clients to me, right? The tonality. So you don't say, once you start speaking English, don't say, like, your tonality should be, you should be confident. And this is why I also tell you, or I would say implore, that you only you should sell a product that is really and genuinely going to help people, and you are ethically and honestly helping people. And you're very confident in your product and the result. So with your tonality, once you start making money with it, you're going to be very impressed. Or once you start making money with it, I wonder what program will you sign up next? You see, like, stuff like that. And also he says, embrace the no. Embrace it. Embrace the no. If they tell you no at any time, even if the client is rude to you on the phone, be very professional all the time. So when they say no, the sales start from no, right? Just like never split the difference. This former FBI agent, right? He asks a question. He says, "Is that a bad time to talk? Is that a ridiculous idea?" He starts with no, so people say, "No, of course, man. What do you mean?" They like to be in control. So when they say no, you start the sale. And like I said, if people say screw you, like whatever, just be polite. You don't have to be an asshole. Okay. So boxing someone in. Remember the 3 tenths, very important. They love your product, they like you and trust you, and they trust your company. 3 tenths. He has been repeating these things for the whole course, over and over and over again. So when you box someone in, right, you use logic, emotions, and beliefs. The art of looping, what does it mean? You match their energy, you explain to them, you say, "Do you like the idea? Sounds fair enough?" "No," or "Let me think about it." Then you begin your first loop. Your first loop, you match their energy, and then you lead them with yours. So you match their energy and you lead it. If you even approach a group of people sitting in a restaurant, your energy has to be slightly higher than theirs or at their level. So you lead them. Because if you come so enthusiastic, it will be a mismatch. And so you feature pace yourself. And this is the best way to sell yourself, is to use a metaphor. To use a metaphor, and you can feature pace. So you say, you say, for example, "Sounds fair enough?" He says, "Let me think about it. Let me introduce myself." Or, "I get it. Let's imagine that I was your banker, and for the last 3 to 4 years, you have been consistently making money." Or, "Imagine that I've been your English teacher for the last 6 months, and you are very happy with the results. You memorize 5 to 6 words a day. Would you still say no? Would you still say, 'Let me think about it'?" Of course not. Of course not. Right? So you give them you feature pace it, you give a metaphor, an example. But if they still say no, you could be honest with them and say, this should also be included in your script. "I get it. You don't trust me, you don't know me." Airtight logical case, airtight emotional case, and you crack through fallacious beliefs. The art of looping is when you use the art of looping when people disagree with you. So they say, for example, "Let me think about it." "Oh no." You need to resell the 3 tenths. They like your product and they think it's the best thing since sliced bread. They like you as a salesperson and trust you. And they trust your company. And so when you loop, you basically reintroduce the 3 tenths again. And you start with yourself. So the best thing to introduce yourself is to use a metaphor. So you say, "Okay, I get it. You need to think about it. But let me say this. If I was your broker, or if I was your banker, or if I was your teacher for the last 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, and you have been really happy with the results, you would learn 5 to 6 words a day. You've been earning very consistently, you're happy with the results. Would you still say, I need to think about it? You will say no. Of course no. Yeah. So you speak as you imply your tonality is a reasonable man, right? I'm a reasonable man. And you use a metaphor. Then, if they still object, you resell on the company, or sorry, on the product. Or maybe the first thing you do is you resell the product, and then you resell yourself, and then you do them all together. And so people love to be told what to do, right? He says shaming is a last resort tactic. When, say, for example, what I do is, I'm not shaming people, but I'm just saying, like, I'm giving a metaphor. I say, for example, look, people have money to buy the latest iPhones, even when their credit cards are maxed out. They somehow find the money to buy an iPhone. But when it comes to investing in your future or learning a skill, you all of a sudden you don't have even 10th of that, or whatever the cost of the program is, or 7th of that. Come on, like, don't be kidding me. And so then you say, so anytime they object, you have to say, like, I hear what you're saying, but let me say this. The true beauty of the program, and this is when people used to object, like when people used to say, let me think about it, when they like didn't give me a green light. Yes, I like the idea. I would say, I get it, but let me say this. I take pride in what I do. We have 50 graduates every month, clients that are happy, and this is how we make, and 50% of our ads is a word of mouth, right? So I sell them on myself and the product at the same time. Let me say this, 1, 2, 3. And then you go on with the script. And the last loop, if also after the second time you have given them more information, they're still not convinced, you tell them, you pick the big guns, like you take out the big guns, the last resort, everything. Like if there is a discount that they need, like if there's a discount, you use it here. If there is any information that you have withheld from the previous, you reveal them. The last, like the big guns. Okay. And so we are still in the art of boxing someone in. So you identify their values. Say they tell you, I need to think about, or I need to talk to my spouse. So Belfort says that when they say this to you, 80% of the time, they just say that to you because they're not sure if their spouse is going to be angry. If they, 20% of the time, people do have they always share everything with each other, right? 20% of the time. 80% of the time, if someone buys or does the right thing, their spouse will be proud. And it just tells you that they are not sure that their spouse will be happy about it, right? In other words, they are not sure that the product is what you promise it to be. And so you keep going with, you use that in your response. So you say, for example, there are magic and power words or powerful phrases that I will write them here. You take notes, but it goes along the lines of, believe me, all I ask is this. When you make the first 4,000, when you purchase when you get the first semester completed, I want you to take your wife to an English house, or I want you to buy your wife a big bouquet of flowers and buy her a ring for $4,000. So you mention their wife or their spouse in the response, so that you care about their spouse as well. And then you ask them a question. I mean, going on with the conversation and with the script, of course, like I'm just giving you an example of the scenario here. And then you also tell them, if they're still not sure, you say, okay, Tell me honestly, what's the worst thing that could happen? Is it going to put you in a poorhouse? Let's say that this program turned out to be like complete BS. I turned out to be a liar. Or this program would not, like, didn't work out for you. What's the worst thing that could happen? Let them think about it. And the next thing you say, but in other words, or in reverse, if you do even half as well as the rest of my clients, so what I tell them is, you don't need to have much brains for this program. If you don't do any homework and you just repeat the same thing over and over for the whole month, I promise you, you will be very impressed. And not only that, I will also give you a native speaker so you can practice your English, so you can ramp up your English speaking skills automatically, right? The massive return is enough, is big. And then you say, all I ask is this, right? You give me 90 days to prove myself, right? And so if I'm even half right, you will be very impressed. The only problem you will have, and this is also a powerful phrase, the only problem you'll have is I didn't call you 6 months ago and get you started. Sounds fair enough? Because time will pass, right? You can tell them time will pass. And you either have the results, you either have the thing, or you don't. But time will pass regardless. And so, and this is a very powerful boxing, like you tell them that there is no risk, and also if there's a guarantee of a refund, the guarantee could be that we would work for free. What's the worst thing that could happen to you, right? And then, but if I'm right, the upsides outweigh so much than the downsides. And then you box the person in, meaning that the person genuinely understands that there is more pleasure following you and getting your product than the pain involved. And so people like to be told what to do, and so you tell them, okay, like, what are the next steps? Too many salespeople are afraid, or they are so shy to ask for the sale or to go ahead and proceed with the sale, just to say, okay, the process is very simple. It's a matter of basic information. So what's your name, etc. But this is not all. We still have something to cover. So let me supplement this with something not quite related to Jordan Belfort. This is from a book. As an English teacher, I teach by, I use interesting books. And so there was a topic of marketing. And so some notes I took down, I thought would be very interesting to share with you. So people usually buy if there are these things, if these things are in the sale, right? So when you say, you make an offer, right? Get a free. Everyone loves something free, right? Even if we do rationally understand that the price is included, right? For example, buy 2 drinks, get 1 free. Even if we understand that, perhaps most of the time the price is included. Sometimes company don't care about the losses, they care about client acquisition. But people react wildly about getting free stuff. Okay, this is how a lot of YouTubers work. Download this free file, just give me your email and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, like, this works. Scarcity. So, ever wonder why these alcohol drinks sell well? Cognac from the 80s, only 500 left, or whatever. Do you really think that they could not produce more than 500 or limited edition? Of course they can. But scarcity plays a big role in this. So this is why people buy as well. Everybody is using. So some people are influenced by this. Everyone is using an iPhone. I like to be different, right? Or you can challenge that, but basically they say, like, everyone is using this, then everyone must not be wrong. People are not stupid, right? And so they go by this trope. Everyone is using it. You too can, so you use this phrase, you too can, you give an example. Look at Sandra. She speaks English, and you too can do it. You have the brains, you have the same brain, the same hands, like There's no difference. If one human can do it, you can too. Independent study. So you give them a study, but the question is, in the book that I taught English from, they used to say that the independent study is usually made by whom? The company itself? But basically this works. When you give them an independent study that has been done, or maybe a study that was done relative to your niche or to your product, it works really good. For example, you launch your dating app and you say, a recent study has been made with existing dating apps, and they say men suffer and struggle. So we care about our men, and we will work with you one-on-one, so you make sure you get likes and matches. For example, an independent study. Authority figure. You remember in the 80s or the 90s when people used to dress white doctor coats and claiming that smoking is good? Well, authority figure. The doctors say that applying this marker to my face is going to make my skin better. Who said it? A doctor. Dr. Florsky, whatever. Regardless of the validity of the claim, they say that authority figure make people buy stuff. So I'm just giving you a study that has been made and shared in an American English file, 3rd edition. Forgot which level, but the lesson is there, that these things work. But as always, how can you live a life knowing that you scam people if you're not authentic, if you're not integrous and honest? So if you're ever going to use that, make sure you're authentic and honest and genuinely believe in the product that you sell. Because even if you try to scam people, sooner or later the ending will not be well, right? You can't guarantee unlimited wealth with scamming people. So you always better have, it's better that you always seek the honest, the integrous way. But like I said, regardless of what companies, some companies do use fallacious ads and false claims, but this is a study and this is what works. Okay, offsetting language patterns. You need to take notes because this is a very beautiful thing here. So, because they think that you may be a sleazy salesperson that would sell them the program and say, bye, you tell them this: I will hold your hand every step of the way. I will show you all the ins and outs. It's got huge upsides with little downsides. It's incredibly easy to get started, right? If your program is very easy. In-depth training program. It's a long-term relationship. It's surefire, paint by numbers. You can take notes and use them in your script. Power pattern. So, those are very powerful patterns that I use to this day. If you even do, I forgot to add, okay, if you even do half as well as the rest of the people in the program, and you can mix them with the second one, believe me, you're going to be very, very impressed, right? If you even do half as well in your tonality, if you even do half as well as the rest of the people in the program, you will be very, very impressed. Like I said, it's a 1-month intensive study. You don't need lots of brains for that. If you just do nothing, no homework, and just participate, right? So you can supplement that with example, but the next thing, all I ask is this: you give me one shot, and you can supplement that with this. You're going to be very impressed, or this, or the second one, right? The only problem you will have is that I didn't call you 6 months ago and get you started then. Believe me, you will not be sorry. Sounds fair enough? You will be very impressed. Believe me, if I'm even half right, I want referrals, right? If I'm even half right, then if they are spouse tailored, they would say your wife will be kissing you when you walk out of the door, out of the door or out of the house or whatever. When you walk through the door, you will be sending your kids to the finest schools alive, right? If they have kids and they care about them as well. So, and this is only tailored. Those examples are Jordan Belfort's. You can tailor this to your specific niche, but the essence is the same. How your product can change their life, and what exactly should you tailor within this power pattern. So, power pattern number 9. All I ask is that you give me a ton of referrals because that's how my business really grows. All I ask is that you give me a ton of referrals so they understand that he's not the only one that's going to take this program, but people actually love your product and they give they tell other people, and this is how you have a thriving business. At least the statistics show that 50% of all the marketing is just a word of mouth. Next, language pattern for looping. Right. So whenever you come across objections, uncertainty from their end, from clients' end, you just ask them these questions. I get it, you need to think about it, but does the idea make sense to you? Or you reintroduce the idea, you sell them the idea again, the company, and then you say, does the idea make sense to you? So this is just language pattern. Does the idea make sense to you? Looping. You see, the true beauty of the program is, they say, I need to talk to my wife. You say, okay, I get it. Totally get it, man. And the true beauty of the program is that, so you're on the line, right? Totally get it, man. And the true beauty of the program is, and you resell the company or the product. You future pace, right? And you say, if they say, I need to think about it. You say, if I've been your advisor for the last 3 years and you've been making consistent money, you're very happy with your investments, or you speak the language that you wanted to learn, or you lost a certain weight, would you still tell me that you need to think about it? Would you still tell me that you need to think about it? Like, you're not saying, be honest, man, you're not saying, but would you still tell me you need to think about it? Like, your tone, a reasonable man. Would you still say that? You wouldn't say that, would you, right? You can go further, of course, like, depending on the comfort that you have with the client, you can, of course, do that. And then you can also say, and then you can resell your company, right? So you sold, like, you introduced the program, you spoke about yourself, right? The true beauty of the program, you give an example about yourself, if you have been the advisor, and then you go for the company. You do 3 hits in the same loop. You see, and as far as my company goes, this is the transition to the company. As far as my company goes, we donate millions to poor kids in Africa. Just an example, just to give you an example. So you show them that the company is ethical, the company is good, the company is not greedy, right? So and not to lie, but figure a way, study your company and just take notes on the best things that you can say about it, right? About your company. So number 5, upsell. You can also upsell people stuff through this power pattern of looping, right? What we can do for you besides this one transaction is get you this vacuum cleaner half the price, tailored to your script. What's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Are you going to be sent to a poorhouse? We could start off small and we can work bigger and better in the future. please don't misconstrue my enthusiasm for pressure. When they say let me think about it, you can say in real estate it's location, location, location. Right? So maybe that's a standard answer for any niche. Maybe that's not, but that's what I have here as my notes, as far as my notes go. Okay guys, the next thing we have is trigger words. What are they? Trigger words is basically when you use stuff like virtually everybody in the program gets results. You're not lying and saying that everyone is getting results, right? That's impossible. But you say virtually everybody, and so he also says that that's like this word it's a hedge word, and it's, you know, used legally so much. Only is a minimizer. So you say this course is only for $297 or 2009, whatever, for $297, for example, right? Only minimizer. The next thing is because. Because is a justifier. Remember to use this word, because, in your conversation. When you ask people for a favor and you give them a reason, they are 90% likely to help you. Guys, so he just cut the line and he said, guys, I need to do it fast, please, because I'm in a rush. So like there was the 3 experiments. Guys, I need to, like he just didn't say anything, right? He came up and he cut the line. People were angry, or like, go back. But then he was like, he gave a reason, because guys, I need to do the paper. 20%, 30% allowed him. But when he said, I need to print the papers because I'm in a rush, I guess 70 to 80% said yes. So when you give them a reason and you say because, it works magic. Cash outlay. Cash outlay is an investment, a reframer, right? So you can say cash outlay or an investment. It's an investment, or it's a cash outlay of only $9,000. Of only $9,000. And it has to be also implied. I used to have a problem with that. When I used to name a price, I would feel that it's too much, and that was transferred. People could feel that I'm naming a big price. In order to reduce that, you could convince yourself that the program costs $200K, and you're just reducing it to $9K. Man, this program is only $9K, man. I don't know. Is it even worth it, right? So you can reduce it. And then I would be glad to. So if they ask you a question that you don't know the answer to, you can say, hey man, I would be glad to ask my boss about it, or I would be glad to get you an answer. I would be glad to ask my supervisors, or I would be glad to ask my colleagues. I would be glad, whatever. And you'll feel genuinely happy about it, right? I would be glad to. You don't say, yes, okay, I would be glad to help you, of course. I would be glad to know that as well, you know. So those are trigger words, and if used properly, they can do magic. So make sure you add them into your script. Getting started is very simple. Just a question of some basic information. This is how you continue to the sale. Okay? This is how you begin the sale. 11. It's a cash outlay, or it's an investment of only $19.97. In order for you to be able to deliver the discount, like I said, make sure you convince yourself that the program is $10,000. And so $2,000 is going to be a bargain. Box. So when you box someone, it basically means you sell your product, right? They love your product, they like you, and they trust your company. So you say, does the idea make sense to you? You don't need to say money aside, but basically ask them, does the idea make sense to you, right? and you begin to sell the company, the product, and then you continue to giving a metaphor about yourself. If I have been your advisor for the last 3 years, right? Give an example about yourself, and then you say, as far as the company goes, we are the only ethical people that's left on this earth. For example, just giving an example. So you give them these 3 things, you ramp them up for like 10, 10, 10, the sale is guaranteed. And so the mindset that you should have is, tell me you have no money, I will respect you. Tell me you don't like the product, and I will respectfully argue with you. Right? I'm okay if you say you don't like the product, I accept that. Tell me you don't trust me or my company, and I will educate you. But don't tell me I need to think about it. Right? Or don't tell me that I need to talk to my wife, to my accountant, my tooth fairy. That's I don't respect. Just a couple of notes. Andres. Okay. And lastly, guys, you should close everyone who is closable. If you did not close a person and another salesperson closed them, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's what Jordan Belfort says. You should quit. Whether you sell, whether you talk to a person about something, right? If you were not convincing enough, if you did not close everyone who's closable, that's a problem, but that's a learning curve for you as an experience to learn. He gave this demographic of, so 1/3 of clients don't really care about your product no matter what you do. Another third is care about your product, but it's just like warm prospects. They're not in a hurry, like, Another, like, and the last third is hot leads. Your job is to convert these people and these people. So you create urgency here, you do your, like, you use patterns and you help them buy the product, as well as these hot leads. So they buy from you, not your competitor, of course. And there is just always going to be this portion of people that, you know, kind of want it, but they don't really care, right? So you're not supposed to close every single person. It's impossible. But things to remember is never duck a phone call. If you want to kill rapport, if you want to waste, like if you want to basically kill everything that you built with a person, just duck a phone call once. Means ignore the phone call or don't answer it. Leave them on missed calls, that's it. Number 2, send them to your competitor if you really can't help them. And if you honestly know that your competitor out there is the best fit for them, do that. You know what this is going to make them understand that you really care about their well-being enough to even send them to your competitor, that you genuinely care, you send it to them, and if they do get benefits from your competitor, they would talk about you, referring to, like, right, and they would tell maybe those people about you. It doesn't matter, but it's a very nice thing to do. It's a noble thing to do. Remember their family, right? You're not just there to sell, you care about people. Use gifts correctly. Jordan says people gave him whatever gifts, and that drove him crazy. Like, he was pissed off, like people just gave him stuff. They didn't really take time to know what he liked. And number 5 is write effective thank you notes. Well, this depends on your, of course, niche. Thank you notes, I like you notes, birthday notes, whatever. So remember these things. And so last thing that I have here is everything in your past falls off. You become as powerful as the most powerful CEO in America. The phone, right, or the Zoom call is the great equalizer. Act as if you are a wealthy man, a woman, rich already, and you will become wealthy. Act as if you have all the confidence in the world, and people will have confidence in you. Act as if you have all the answers, and the answers will come to you. And so, let me wrap this up by the last page, which is, remember 3 P's. Positive peak power state equals miracles. Positive peak power state. Remember about the anchor that I told you. And also remember the concept of the pain and pleasure. So that in the call, if the prospect, if they feel that there will be more pain buying your product than pleasure, they will say no. If they perceive that there is more pleasure in doing business with you than having the pain about going through the product and the money and everything, they will buy it from you. That's all you do. You're just increasing the pleasure and the positivity of your product and the whole thing. And as W. Clement Stone said, regardless of who you are or what you have been, you can be what you want to be. Your past does not define you. It is the contrast that you were able to glance or peek at to discern the way or the path to follow. So guys, I want to thank you so much for today. It has been a series of days recording this thing, but if you have a script and you genuinely want to boost your skills and communication and persuasion, persuading people and stuff like that, you can succeed. Just remember to repeat and read the script 100 times, tweak it, and there's nothing impossible. My name is Kamal, and I'll see you soon.